إلهي أعظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء أضاقت الأرض ومنعت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك المعول في الشدة والرخاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم، ففرج عنا بحقه فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب. يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران. يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 العجب العجب العجب. يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيبنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين. Respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This week's topic is a continuation of last week's topic. However, this week's topic is about post-marriage. So obviously this one is for all the married people and the people that obviously in the last stages of getting to know each other and just about to get married, inshallah. So there are things that you can look forward to. Inshallah, as per usual, the Shaykh will give an introduction and then we'll get stuck straight into the questions. Today, again, we have with us Shaykh Nemi. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Assalam wa rahmatullah.
Shaykh, thank you for coming with us.
You're welcome.
Once again. Shaykh will begin with your introduction, inshallah, and then we'll continue from there. Tfaddal.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين المحمود هو الله جل جلاله والمصلى عليه محمد وآله اللهم صل على محمد وآله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran when he speaks about marriage, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا. And it is from one of his signs that he created for yourselves a partner. Last week we gave an introduction to this verse and we explained how marriage is considered one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how Allah referred to marriage or classifies marriage as a miraculous action. The verse continues to say, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so you may find rest. This shows the reason behind marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made marriage recommended and made it a nature for a human being or for his creatures, because through marriage you can seek or find rest. In order to be physically at rest, in order to be mentally at rest, in order to be spiritually at rest, you need to have a successful and a healthy marriage. Those who are comfortable in their marriage life can be successful outside, while those who live a toxic life and those who are going through problems in their marriage life, they will find it very difficult for them to succeed in anything that they want to do in life. If you're comfortable in your house, you are comfortable everywhere. If you're not comfortable inside your house, you would not be comfortable anywhere. This week's topic is about post-marriage, and I believe it's a topic that we can all connect to, whether you are someone who is planning to get married, someone who is newly married, or someone who have been married for years but may be facing few problems here and there. Inshallah, we can help each other tonight and perhaps advise each other. I'm not in a position to advise anyone. I need someone to advise me when it comes to these topics, but inshallah we can help each other out in trying to benefit from this topic.
Ahsan, Shaykh.
Ahsanallah ilaykum.
Shaykh, so just before we get stuck right into the questions, just a very important point I'd like to make to the viewers. Please don't see the questions as being biased or even sexist, so to speak. The questions are based around many Islamic concepts and things which your average person may ask. So don't feel as if we're targeting a certain factor or a certain gender, for example. It's got nothing to do with that. After all, we are an Islamic show and we are here to give the best possible and correct Islamic advice as possible. So please eliminate the negative factor of thinking that we are being biased on the show, especially the fact that there's two men speaking tonight. And inshallah, rather look at it as something that is a positive factor and something that inshallah we can all help ourselves in our marriages for the married ones and the ones that aren't married, inshallah, when you do get married. So Sheikh, with keeping that in mind, we begin with our first question, inshallah. Sheikh, is it the man's right to refuse the wife from leaving the house? This is something that happens a lot nowadays, where, for instance, a wife might come and tell her husband, she might, for example, say, we have a mutual agreement, I don't have to ask you if I'm going somewhere. Or a wife might say, I'm not a child, I don't need to ask you, or you're not my father. So sometimes it can get quite, it becomes into a bit of a problem. But Islamically speaking though, where do we stand, the husband and wife, in regards to this matter?
Okay. As usual, as we did last week, it's good to give a small introduction for answering the question.
Yeah.
So we gave an introduction for the topic. Maybe it's beneficial to give a short introduction to answer the rest of the questions. Islam came with a certain set of rules. Some of these rulings are linked to the time and the place that they were revealed in, or that they were said in. It's possible for some of them to change based on the time and the place. Something that was practiced 1,000 years ago may be beneficial today, and maybe it's not that beneficial today. So some of the rulings of marriage can change by time. And the change is not based on our own desires, but rather on the evidence that we have in front of us, and understanding the context of the narration or the verse that we come across. So if we're able to come with a better understanding that is based on evidence from the Quran and the authentic narrations, and a conclusion that can be more beneficial for today's time, then it's something good to do. When it comes to this question, should a wife ask the permission of her husband? Traditionally, they say, the scholars say that the wife has to ask the permission of her husband when she leaves the house. Okay. If they agree, as you mentioned, they agreed together before marriage, that I don't need to ask you for permission whenever I want to leave. This agreement is enough for her to go out without asking for permission later on. Okay? If he married this woman while she was working, while she was going out, doing her stuff on a daily basis, he doesn't have the right to prevent her from doing this, because he married her on these bases.
Yep.
He knew what she was doing. If she agreed with him, that's it, it's enough. So that's the traditional answer that we can give from the scholars. If you ask the Maraja, if you look at the rulings of the Maraja on their website, they give this answer. For example, Sayyid Sistani, when it comes to the Q&A, he gives this answer. If we want to look at it from a more Western modern approach, or approach it with a Western modern approach, we say that it's important for both partners to be open to each other and to trust each other. If a wife wants to go out, there's no problem if she tells her husband that I'm going out to this place. If the husband is going out, there's no problem if he tells his wife that I'm going into this place. As long as they know where they are going, it will save them from a lot of problems. As long as they are honest and open to each other and they trust each other, that would be better for them, and it will create a stronger relation between both sides. So we shouldn't look at it as a child that is leaving and asking for permission from his parents. And I don't want to make it more extreme and say a slave that wants to leave the house.
Yeah.
Let's look at it as two people who love each other, two people who care about each other, two people that live together. You don't want the other side to be worried, where are you? Anything happened to them. So you just let them know that you are going, whether you're the husband or the wife.
Sheikh, so for example, letting them know is one thing. As I said, it eliminates, for example, doubt and all these sorts of things. But for example, you said if if the wife, for instance, or the husband, see, the thing is, what I'm trying to get at here is because most people will ask, most people will say, I'm the man of the house, the lady can't prevent me from going somewhere. But for example, say a husband and wife have argued, and then the wife, for example, decides she wants to grab her keys and just leave the house all of a sudden. And then the husband, for example, responds with, you're not allowed to leave the house. For instance, he might say, if you leave, don't come back. What we're trying to get at here is, does the husband have this sort of a say? I'm not going to say authority. Does he have this sort of a say over his wife in that instant?
You can't give a general answer for this topic because you gave many scenarios if you want. You mentioned doubt. When it comes to doubt, you have to stop and see, this doubt, is it based on taking care of your partner or worrying about their own security or their own privacy and so on, or is it a doubt that is based on satanic whispering? Because some men, they doubt, or some women even, they doubt that maybe my partner is doing something wrong outside the house. So based on the reason behind this doubt, we can give the answer, whether it's allowed for him to say you can stay at home or not. When it comes to facing a problem, a marriage problem, when both sides are facing a problem, if the husband is in a position of maturity where he can prevent the problem from becoming bigger, and he tells his wife to stay at home, then obviously she should listen to him in that case. But a general answer would be what the Maraja mentioned today, that it is wajib, according to them, it is wajib for a woman to ask for the permission of her husband if she wants to go out. However, they mentioned, as Sayyid Sistani mentions on his website, for example, he says that a woman can ask from the beginning, or can agree from the beginning of the marriage, or before they even get married, that I don't need to take your permission, right? This legal permission every time I want to leave, right? She can do that from the beginning, as long as they build the trust together, and that's more healthy than going to the extreme side where you have to just sign in and sign out every time you want to go, right? And you feel like you're dealing with your boss at work and not your husband. It's better to build this trust before marriage, and it's better to agree on these things before you get married.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
If I can add one thing that came to my mind. There's another case where she doesn't have to ask the permission of her husband, an exception, where the Maraja mentioned, if, for example, Salatul Rahim, if she wants to go and visit her parents, and the husband says to his wife, you're not allowed to go visit your parents. He doesn't have the right to do that, according to the ruling of Sayyid Sistani that is mentioned. Again, here I have to I have to mention the ruling of the Marja in that case. And it's interesting to see, it's interesting and sad to see how sometimes on the minbar, some speakers, they mention certain stories that are based on very weak narrations to show that no, the husband has the right to prevent his wife to go. For example, they mentioned the story that once a man, he prevented his wife from visiting her dad. Her dad was sick, so he said to her, you're not allowed to go out. The dad was close to death. People came to the wife and said to her, your dad is dying. The husband said, you're not allowed to die. The father died, and the woman wasn't allowed to go out. According to that narration, they say the Prophet said she'll deserve paradise for listening to her husband.
Wow.
This is nonsense, right? This is nonsense. It's a weak narration and something that we cannot accept, right? You're not marrying a slave. You're not marrying a slave to lock her in the cage, just go out and do the washing, do the food, and then go back to your cage.
Yeah.
That's not right. This is not just, and this is against what Islam teaches us. This is against what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam teaches us. So that's why we can't give one answer to this to this question. We have to look at the problem that happens in the marriage.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan alaykum.
Sheikh, what is the husband's duty toward his wife And obviously on the other side, what is the wife's duty towards her husband?
Okay, so if we use the term partner, as we did last week, to include both sides, right? And it can include other sides. But Islamically, we keep it to the partner. So the duty of the partner towards each other. If we look at the verse that we started with, that speaks about marriage. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. It is from His signs that He created a partner for yourself. The reason is for you to find rest. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His mercy, He gave us two keys in order to reach rest. He says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And He made between you mawadda, compassion, and mercy. The duty of the partner, or the duty of the partner towards his other partner, or towards each other, is to treat each other in a good way, to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be good to each other by following these two keys. The first key is al-mawadda. You see, when it comes to translating this verse, usually in English they translate al-mawadda to love. Love, the term for in Arabic is al-mahabba, not al-mawadda. We see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the verse, He didn't mention the term al-mahabba. He mentioned al-mawadda. And there's a reason behind this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise even in every word that He says, in every term that He uses. Love, al-mahabba, is a feeling that you have inside your heart. It's an emotional feeling that you have inside your heart. You can love someone without letting them know. When in youth time they say you have a crush on on someone. You have a crush, but you don't tell them, correct? So it's possible to love someone and not to express this love. While al-mawadda is something higher. Al-mawadda is expressing this love, which means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants the marriage couples not to only love each other, not to only have this feeling, this emotional feeling inside their heart. He wants them to express their love to each other. The husband can't say, well, she knows I love her. There's no need to keep telling her, I love you, I love you. No, it's important to keep telling her, I love you. All right? Or the mentality of, for example, males work different than the mentality of females. For example, the male's mentality, they want something, they want to see things, physical things, right? So if someone brings you a present as a man, it shows their love to you, and you can feel that they love you through this present, okay? Through something, through certain physical features, you can say that, oh, they love me. A woman mentality or mind works different. They prefer more, obviously they love presents, but they prefer more to hear things, right? It affects,
emotional, theoretical
it affects their mind more to hear the word. So it's not enough to say, well, she loves me, I love her, and that's it. No, it's important to express this love, to keep saying, I love you. And there's a narration, regardless of its authenticity. Yeah. It's a nice, nice narration. The Prophet ﷺ says, قول الرجل للمرأة إني أحبك لا يذهب من قلبها أبدا. What the meaning of it? The saying of a man to his wife, I love you, would not leave her heart forever, if it's said properly, obviously. So that's from the husband's side, to express his love. He can't deal with his wife same as he deals with his friend. Now you're my friend. Not every time I see you, I say, I love you, I love you. You know I love you, right? I don't have to. It sounds gay, gay if I do that, right? But with your wife, it's different. You have to, I love you, and so on. Be romantic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to be romantic. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi was romantic. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they were romantic. So you're not more of a man than them alayhim salam, right? So it's important to be romantic and to express your love. Now, put aside the husband, come to the wife. Yalla, bring the wife. The wife, she can't be that arrogant where she sits down as a queen and expects someone to praise her all the time, and she doesn't do the same from the other side. She has to show the same feelings. Same as your husband praises you, you have to praise him. Same as your husband express his love, you have to express your love. Same as he cares about you, you have to care about him. You're not the center of attention that you want just to sit down and be praised, right? You become like a god, waliyadu billah. Sit down, alhamdulillah for you, day and night, day and night, night. It becomes boring. So you need to praise your husband. You need to show love to your husband. You need to respect your husband, and especially outside. So you do that, show the love, you show the compassion in the house in different ways, through words and through actions and whatever. And then outside, it's important for both of them to show respect to each other. Don't put your partner down in front of anyone, and especially in front of the parents. Don't put your partner down in front of their parents too. That will cause a lot of problems. Always put them up, always praise them, regardless of what's happening between you. Sometimes you may be going through many problems. Outside, always praise each other. Make each other look in a good way. The moment problems go out from the house will be destroyed. You have to keep everything inside the house. This is when it comes to love. That includes respect, includes praising, includes romance, and so on. Now go to the second key, which is mercy. I'll be quick, inshallah.
Yep.
Mercy. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Rahmah, again, is emphasized again in this verse to show that everything is based on mercy. Love and mercy. Everything is based on mercy. Allah created everything through His mercy. And everything is still living today through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And marriage is one of them. In order for the marriage to stay healthy, in order for you to live a comfortable life, you need to be mercy in dealing with each other as partners. Whether the husband or the wife, you're not going to live happy ever after. And that's only in fairy tales. In life, you have some good days, some bad days. You have some good moments, some bad moments. This is life. When you are on good terms, barakallah, you can live together happily. When you're going through a certain problem, be merciful in dealing with each other. Don't start staunching, don't start again acting as if you're dealing with your friends. Don't start showing your muscles from each side. I'm sorry, from both sides, right? Because also some women, they have strong muscles, right? Especially in their tongues. Some of them, they have very strong muscles from both sides. Be merciful in the way you deal with each other. Try to minimize the problem and not to make it bigger. Through these two keys, you can reach the rest which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to you from marriage. That's a summary, inshallah.
Ahsan.
Allah ilayk.
Sheikh, another question for you, obviously. If the husband is angered, what is the wife's responsibility in this manner? Something I want to mention before you do answer. There's something that goes around a lot where a lot of men use it towards their wife. And I think they state that it's a narration. Don't know how authentic it is. But they say that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stated that if a lady was to prostrate to anyone after God, it would be to her husband, signifying the status of her husband to her in her life. What is her duty in regards to this matter? Or you hear, for example, they say if the husband sleeps angered with the wife, then her prayers aren't accepted, and you start getting all these sorts of things. What's the situation?
Okay. So we'll go to the first part first, before you go to the narrations. If the husband is angry, what's the duty of his wife? It's not a duty, I'd say. What's the wise thing from the wife to do? And also let's use the term partner. What's the wise thing from the partner to do? Whether it's the husband or the wife that are angry. If your partner is angry and you truly love them, you shouldn't make it worse and anger them more. You should remember that sometimes you get angry. Sometimes they get angry. But that's just a short period of time. The best thing to do, and even you can find some Islamic teachings about it, where they teach you when you're angry or when you feel that you're going to get angry, stand up if you're sitting down. If you're standing, walk outside. Try your best not to make it worse or to make the problem bigger. If there's a way to calm them down, do it. Right? If there is no way to calm them down, just move, leave. In order for them to calm down, then you come and discuss the problem together. Now, we can't hide, as they say, behind our finger and say, or with the partners, it's the same. No. At the end of the day, we live as a Muslim community, we live in a culture is influence our lives a lot. Even if you're born here, even if your parents are born here, right? They just like feed you this culture without you noticing. So with the man, it's worse. With the man, it's worse. When he's angry, it's something more dangerous sometimes, right? Because he can become physical, and he can start, for example, hitting the wife or something which is obviously haram. Or it would be more difficult to control this anger. If the wife loves her husband, she shouldn't also make it worse. She should try to calm the problem down or calm him down. There's no one answer for this question. It depends on the person, the situation and the person. You know your partner and you know how to deal with him. You know what makes him angry, what makes him comfortable, what makes him happy. So you know how to calm him down in a wise way, not to make things worse. They mentioned this story, they say, about a wise woman. They say they had one child. They were waiting for a child for a long time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a child after many years. This child was playing, and one day he fell down and died. The husband came back home. The wife, she put down lunch for him. She made sure that he ate his lunch. And then she said to him, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you something, what would you say? The husband said, I'd say, Alhamdulillah. I'll thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the wife said to him, what if Allah wants to take this thing that He gave you from you? He said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Surely we are from Allah and to Allah we return. It's something that Allah gave me and He wants it back. Now it's like you give me something and you want it back. I have nothing to say. She said to him, Allah gave us this son and He took him away. They say this man, he was just sitting down and thinking about the merciful approach that his wife used. So a word can solve a problem and a word can make the problem worse. A wise wife, a mature wife, can solve the problem or can release this anger through certain words that she say. It's always with the words. You can change many things through the words, especially if they come truly from your heart. For example, if a wife wants to do something, let's say, she wants to do something. If she comes and say to her husband, I'm going to do this and that, what's the normal reaction from the husband?
No, you're not.
No, you're not doing it. Straight away. Why? Because he feels like she's stepping on his manhood. Correct? Yeah, I want to do this and that. So, khalas, he loses it. Even if he prays, he fasts, he's educated, he's a sheikh, doesn't matter. Straight away, the normal reaction when she's staunching, you want to staunch back, correct? Unless you are from the pious believer, you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, then barakallah. But if she comes and say to him, what do you think? What do you think? Should we do this? Should we do that? Right? Before she even continues, the husband will say, yeah, do whatever you want. Correct? Most of the times. He says, do whatever you want. Why? Because she's asking him. She's making him involved in what she's doing. But if she comes, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, obviously he's going to staunch and problems will start. So if any partner is angry, try to not to make it worse and choose the best words in order to solve the problem.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah ilayk.
Sheikh, if a husband is violent or vice versa and conditions of violence have not been stipulated, are either side allowed to request a divorce?
Look, Now, I don't want to go into the discussion of hitting women and the verse and so on.
Yeah.
Because that needs a long discussion. Maybe you need a
segment,
a
just
segment
on that.
on that thing, on that verse, because
Yeah.
it's interesting in itself. But in general, we can say that we shouldn't accept any physical attacks or any violence, especially if it's physical, against any of the partners, whether it's the husband or the wife. In the past, we used to speak about women's rights and the woman, you shouldn't accept the woman to be beaten and or to the husband to hit her. But today we've seen some, or we heard some stories where a woman, she hits her husband sometimes, right? So just to stay mutual between both, regardless of who the partner is. But at the end of the day, the husband is usually the stronger one, and he's the one that usually becomes physical. Islamically, we should reject that, and we don't accept that. If the husband attacks his wife, she has the right to defend herself. That's number one. So before she asks for a divorce, if he's coming to bash his wife, she's not going to sit down and say, come bash me because the verse says, فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, right?
Yeah.
No, she has to defend herself. That's something an animal would do. If you attack an animal would defend themselves, correct? That's number one. She has the right to defend herself. Number two, she has the right to ask for a divorce. Now, the process of the divorce, how long it take, and so on, I don't know. But Islamically, she has the right to ask for a divorce.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh, why is a question that many females may ask? Why is divorce in the male's hand and not the female, from a general perspective, without getting into the realm of it's stipulated in the contract that I have the authority or the asmid to do this and do that and all this sort of stuff? Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving it to the male and not the other way around?
Yeah. We forgot to answer one question, but I'll answer in this question about the sujood of the woman to her. So we'll answer with this question, I think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I don't know if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that divorce is in the hands of a male, but what we are sure about is the fatwa of our scholars. All right? The fatwa of the scholars, what it's based on, that's a discussion, a separate discussion. Traditionally, it's known that the divorce is in the hands of the husband and not the wife, based on certain narrations, based on certain maybe verses, in understanding them. Sometimes when you look at the verse on its own, you understand something. When you look at the narration and you only check the authenticity of the chain on its own, you understand something. But when you look at the time and the place that it was said in, the reason why it was said in, you may understand something different. So maybe in the past, if in certain places or in certain times a woman was not educated, not mature enough to be in a position of power or authority where she knows how to take care of herself, then it makes sense for divorce to be in the hands of a husband or in the hands of a man. In the past, women used to be at home. They never used to be, most of them never used to go and get any education. They never used to be financially independent or having their own work. So they were not that mature or wise in dealing with their affairs. And that's why certain narrations or verses speak about the authority in the hand of man. However, someone can argue that if these circumstances change, then it's possible for the authority to be in the hands of both of them. And this is how I personally look at marriage, especially due to the many problems that we face in today's world, where we see a wife that is oppressed asking for a divorce and the man acting like a pharaoh and doesn't want to divorce her, right? Then she has to go beg every single turban here and there and pay money here and there to get divorced. And some of them say, we'll divorce you, just if you agree to do mut'ah with us, and so on. The disasters that you see. I look at marriage as an agreement. Both sides come and agree to live together. Both are mature, especially in today's world. Both are mature. Both have rights. If any of them decide to end the marriage, they should have the right to do that. But this is not a ruling that I'm giving. The ruling, you have to go to the marja and take the ruling. This is how I look. If you want to escape from the traditional ruling, you can do what we mentioned last week. You can agree from the beginning of marriage, right, to put the authority in the hand, or to give a wikala to, for example, a scholar that you trust, to do the marriage on behalf of you if anything happens. In case you don't want to put it in the hands of your wife, for example, then you can agree to put it in the hands of a scholar. If anything happens, they have the right to do the divorce. And we can't deny that women have the right to be worried in these days from the problems that we see and from the different stories that we hear. They have the right to do that. No man should accept on himself, if he's truly a man, to keep a woman on his name if she doesn't want to live with him. You don't want to live with me, Allah ma'ak, and you go, see you later, right? If you're truly a man, you should do that. So, Islamically, from how scholars understood the narrations, the verses, they say it has to be in the hands of a man because he's more wise, more mature, and he doesn't use his emotions. Women are more emotional. Well, you can see some women today who are stronger than men when it comes to leadership, right? You've seen some prime ministers in certain countries, you see some judges in courts, right? You see how strong they are. Right? It changed today. It's possible to change. Religion, to answer the previous question, religion was understood for the past 1,000 years, at least, through men. Men are those who interpreted religion, not women. How many women scholars you see in Islam? Right? Maybe at the beginning of Islam you have some Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam, Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, some of the daughters of the Imams alayhi salam, Sayyidah Fatima, the daughter of Imam al-Qadhi alayhi salam, and some few women. But mostly, especially in today's time, it's men who write down religion. This narration that they use, that if Allah, what was it?
If the lady was to prostrate
to anyone other than Allah, it would be to her husband. This is a weak narration. The least I can say, it's weak. I don't want to say it's a scholar maybe who was angry from his wife put down this narration. He said the Prophet says 1, 2, 3. Allah alam, can't be 100% sure, but it's weak. There's no, you prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. You go on your knees to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. And that's the problem today also. It came to my mind with proposing, because there's a proposing where they go on their knees and they propose. Different cultures today, when it comes to marriage, it can cause the problem with this. Because in certain cultures they expect you to propose, right? To go on your knees and would you marry me? But maybe in our Islamic culture, we don't have something like that. We go on our knees for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. So we don't accept a woman to go on her knees to her husband, or a husband to go on his knees to his wife. We want both of them to go on their knees and to do sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to stay on the straight path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah ilayk.
Sheikh, one example here. They say that Imam Khomeini rahmatullahi alayhi used to place the sponge under the tap while doing wudu if his wife was asleep, so as to not wake her up. Is this the extent we should be going to for one another?
Look, if you have a wife like the wife of Imam Khomeini rahmatullahi alayhi, then yeah, do more than that, right? Someone who was patient with her husband, someone who supported the movement of her husband, someone who stayed 14 years on her own when the Imam rahmatullahi alayhi was forced to leave from Iran to Iraq to Turkey to France. If you find someone that is that loyal, then yes, you should do more than that to them. The truth is we didn't live with them, so Allah A'lam what was going between them. Maybe they used to have a fight every day, and it's not. Our role model is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Our role model is the Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. And this is who we follow. Yes, we benefit from the stories of the scholars, Ridwanullahi alayhim, but we don't know exactly what was going in their house, right? You can come and we can relate to this. You can come sit down, speak about a certain topic, but you go home and maybe you'll act like a pharaoh. You don't know anything about religion. I'll speak about myself before I speak about others, right? So theoretically you can present yourself in a certain way, practically in a different way. But when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa, we are sure about their infallibility, about their purity, about their sincerity, and so on. Let us look at how they used to deal with each other. When we look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa and Sayyidah Khadija alayhi salam, right? You see this romantic relation, a relation that is based on pure love, to the max of love, as they say, right? Between them, the respect that they had, the way they used to deal with each other. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa, every time the name of Sayyidah Khadija used to be mentioned, he used to cry after her death. Whenever he used to see the friends of Sayyidah Khadija, he used to cry. He used to give out food for the soul of Sayyidah Khadija alayhi salam. When someone said to him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced you with someone better than Khadija, he said to her, you're a liar. That's not true. Allah never replaced me with someone who is better than Khadija. So his love with his wife and his respect to his wife continued after her death. With Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam and Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam, you see this also relation of love between them and respect that continued after the death or the martyrdom of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. He was crying, as mentioned in certain historical books. He was crying on the grave of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. Right? When you have someone that is loyal, someone who cares about you, someone who stands next to you, someone who is pious and religious, someone who helps you to stay on the path of Allah, then yes, don't only put, what did he used to put Imam Khomeini? A sponge in the sink so he doesn't wake his wife up. No, bring her food to the bed. Make breakfast and bring her food to the bed if she's that good, right? But if she's like other people or some evil wives, right? That even some prophets had, for example, Prophet Lut alayhi salam, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, they had some evil wives, right? Other prophets, they had some evil wives. If she's like them, then no. Stand next to her ear and say Allahu Akbar next to her ear so she can wake up, right? So it depends how she deals with you and how you deal with her. It works both sides. If she's good, be good to her. If she's not good, end this relation. I'm not going to say be an oppressor, end this relation.
Ahsan, Shaykh.
Ahsan,
so Shaykh, we got about roughly 20 minutes to go. Inshallah, we can get through the rest. There's not that many to go. Just thought I'd give you a heads up on the time. Shaykh, kids. What are some of the narrations about having kids, and many of them? Is having kids up to the wife as she bears the child, or is it upon the husband's request? In other words, can the wife disagree to having kids or more kids?
Look, marriage is not a battlefield, okay? And you're not going to a UFC fight. Is it called UFC?
UFC, yeah.
UFC fight. And you're not going to a ring and you're fighting against each other. It's for you to sit down and say, these are the laws, 1, 2, 3, you have to follow 1, 2, 3, I have to follow 1, 2, 3. No. It's a contract that you both have to agree upon. You have to agree upon everything. So when it comes to kids, also it's something that you have to both agree upon. It's impossible to agree upon everything in life. This is why you need to follow what I refer to the principle of double C, to comprehend and to compromise. You need to understand the other side, why they are saying whatever they are saying or whatever the stance that they are taking, why are they saying this, and you need to compromise sometimes. This works on both sides. I'm not speaking and just for the husband. Like, if you keep compromising, comprehending, that she'll become unlimited with her thoughts and with her evilness. Sometimes no. Both sides, they need to comprehend and compromise, to agree, to speak to each other, and maybe you'll find that your partner, whether the husband or the wife, are scared from a certain thing, and this is what preventing them from, let's say, having more kids, right? So if you come and solve this fear that they have, then you'll solve the problem. But a woman doesn't have the right on her own to decide not to have more kids. Then a husband can say, I'll go get married, for example, to have more kids. He has the right, according to the traditional understanding of religion, to do that. All right? So here they have to both agree on everything and work together. Now, narrations, they mention that it's recommended to have a big family, to have a lot of kids, and so on. There are many narrations in this regard. However, in today's time, we see how difficult it is to raise children, right? I believe it's more important, we want more quality and not quantity, especially where we live. We can have a lot of, we can have thousands of people, but they do nothing good for the community or for Allah, just adding more numbers. But we need quality. If you get one kid and you raise them to become someone like Imam al-Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi, for example, better than 10,000 kids, right? He will keep your legacy living forever, for example. So it depends how much you can give to these kids and how good you can raise them. You have to see. Some people are able to raise 5 kids, 6 kids, 10 kids, barakallah. Some people are able to raise 1 kid. It depends. It depends where you live, the environment that you're living. Are you able to provide a good life for this child or not, right? Just to bring a kid to this life and you just kick him to the street and let him find his way, it's not good. It's not enough, right? Or to say, I'm going to rely upon Allah, I don't have $5 in my pocket and I'm just going to keep popping kids. No, this is not the right thing to do, not a wise thing to do. You need to plan for your life. Obviously, you rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything, but you have a mind that He gave you. So you plan everything and you work based on what's in front of you.
Ahsan, Sheikh. Sheikh, a very controversial question.
Everything is controversial tonight.
What does the Quranic verse mean when it says, and inshallah you can also translate it for us within the answer, الرجال قوامون على النساء.
Yeah. Look, that needs also a separate segment. More than one. To speak about women, the way women are viewed in Islam. But briefly, I'll say briefly with taqiyya and without going into details.
If you can just give us the definition before you start, just in case there's...
Okay. The verse says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. I'm sure this is the verse. قوامون على النساء is translated as men have authority over women. Okay, so al-qawwamiyya is having authority. بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض, with what, or due to what Allah made some of them better than the others, and through what they spend with money. Now, briefly, when it comes to ar-rijal, some people, especially modern scholars, they come and argue that the term ar-rijal in the Quran, when it's not always used to refer to males. Sometimes the term ar-rijal can be used in the Quran to refer to men and women. For example, when Ibrahim says in the Hajj, when وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ فِي الْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا, the verse says رجالا means walking on their feet. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا الله ما عاهدوا عليه. The verse doesn't have to be men, for example. The verse that says رجال, they love to be purified. The verse, the meaning of the verse, it's not referring to men only, referring to men and women. So they say the term الرجال is not always referred to women, to men. It can be referred to men and women. But the verse itself is clear that it's speaking about males here. Because it says الرجال قوامون على النساء. I've seen even some scholars, not Shia scholars, some Muslim modern scholars, they tried to even justify. They said An-Nisa, it doesn't refer to women all the time. They said Ar-Rijal refers to those who are active and working, and Nisa refers to those who are sitting at home, whether it's a male or a female. And that's needs a lot of evidence to be proven, right? When it comes to these sensitive verses, you can either have three opinions. Either deny that it's from the Quran and go to Tahrif, which is something we don't agree upon. Either you try to justify through what they do, Ar-Rijal, and they play on the terms, or you try to clarify. When you want to clarify or explain, you come to the verse. Ar-Rijalu qawwamun 'ala an-nisa. They have authority over women. Why? The first condition, بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. By what Allah made some of them better than the others. This is how they understand it. Some scholars, for example, like Aqad, the Sunni scholar, he says men are created better than women. Yani, in nature, if you're a man, you're in a higher position than a woman. It's something not only in the Sunni school of thought, in the Shia school of thought, you'll find the same opinion. Huh? If you're a man, you're better, khalas. You're the chosen gender with Allah. A woman is lower in her intellect, lower in her religion, lower in her nature, lower in everything. That's the understanding. With this understanding, you'll be shocked how some women are still Muslims. And if they get to know the view or how they view them, you'll be surprised. This understanding comes from the Christians and the Jewish people, through those who came to Islam and spread the Israeliyat in the religion. Some other scholars, they say, like Al-Fakhr al-Razi, for example, he says, بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. He made men better in certain things, and he made women better in certain things. For example, women are better than men when it comes to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the sense that it becomes wajib on a man to start worshipping Allah at the age of what? Let's say 13, 14, 15. A woman or a girl becomes wajib on her to pray to Allah at the age of 9. Worshipping Allah in itself is an honor. Being ready to be a servant of Allah is an honor. So she's more honored than a man in that sense. She's better. Then from another side, the man, he takes more when it comes to the inheritance. He takes more than a woman. Right? So he's better in that way because he takes more than a woman. On the other side, it's wajib on the man to pay everything when it comes to the death of his parents, for example. It's not wajib for the woman to pay. So if the parents die, the male has to pay and cover everything from the shroud, from the coffin, from the grave, for all the expenses, but the daughter doesn't have to pay that. So she's better from that side. Right? So it works both sides. When it comes to marriage, a man has the authority, okay, according to this verse, قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. They are better from this side. From another side, the man, it's wajib on him to take care of the whole financial life, to provide everything for the wife. The wife doesn't have to do anything in that sense. So she is better from this aspect. She doesn't have to take responsibility. You see, with everything, there's certain things that are better for men, certain things that are better for women. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. Each one is better in a certain thing. This is a new understanding of the verse. وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ, and with the money that they spent. Back then, again, when we go to the time that the verse was revealed in, you're speaking about a time where people used to live, or when men used to go and work and women used to stay at home. Only few women had a financial life, like Sayyidah Khadija alayha salam, for example. But most of the women used to sit at home and men used to work. So if the man is working, if the man is making the money, if the man is bringing the money home, obviously he has the authority, right? From a legal perspective, let's say. But we can here raise a question that what if a woman is working and the man is sitting at home? Who has the authority? Because the condition in the verse says بِمَا أَنفَقُوا. بِمَا is a condition, يعني شرط. Right? بِمَا أَنفَقُوا. If the man is not spending money and the woman is spending money, well, should you have the authority to tell her how to spend or how not to spend? It's her money. So she has the authority. Then it says النِّسَاءُ قَوَّمُونَ عَلَى الرِّجَالِ. You change the verse. What's the problem in that? If they are both working, like similar to the case that to many couples that live today in the West, it's very hard for one partner to be working. They have to both work together in order to build their life, correct? If they are both working, who has the authority?
Should be split.
Both of them. And there comes the agreement. All right, this is based on how I understand it. I'm not saying this is the correct understanding. You go to your marja and he'll give you his understanding. But in Tafsir al-Quran, maybe that's a better understanding that goes with time and it makes more sense. If we can say.
Ahsan. So Sheikh, we've got say 3 questions left. Inshallah, if we can just get through them really quickly.
Okay. I'll be quick.